It really does feel like we're all being tested as Newcastle fans at the moment, because this is incredibly frustrating. Losing in the last minute again against a Big Six team that seemed to get loads of decisions in their favour. So up until very late in the game, what I'd planned on talking about in this video was how Arsenal's cheating actually helped Newcastle, because I'd say for the first 20 minutes of that game, I'd say that the atmosphere was a little bit like subdued. Like, it wasn't too bad. It never is that bad at St. James's Park, but it just wasn't quite like the kind of fiery atmosphere that it had been in previous years for these Newcastle Arsenal games. I think Gyökeres's dive, or kind of how he left his leg into Nick Pope after Nick Pope got the ball, I think that kind of changed the game because it sparked the atmosphere a bit, and that kind of turned it into the sort of fiery affair that it had always been. And I think if you look to like the lead up to the game, this was something that kind of worried me, because it didn't feel like we were fired up for it, because we weren't all that confident for it. But also I think Mikel Arteta had learned, because instead of, you know, saying things that kind of inflame the, you know, atmosphere and stuff like that, he was actually kind of respectful in the lead up. And like, Mikel Arteta, he didn't feed the atmosphere. He didn't make it worse. But as I said, that moment in the game, Arsenal attempting to cheat in that moment, was kind of what I thought turned the game for most of the game. And that's why, you know, we were ahead and it looked to everyone like we were going to win. And equally, it looked like I was going to end up being very wrong about everything that I had said in my match preview. So yeah, what I was initially going to talk about is how Arsenal attempting to cheat potentially completely changed the game in our favour. But obviously, that's not what I'm going to be talking about. So what I'm actually going to be talking about in this video is obviously refereeing decisions. I can't really talk about this game and not talk about referees, unfortunately. I'm going to look at Newcastle's games so far this season, and then how we've compared in previous seasons, and then like where we are like points-wise in comparison to where we were from the same games in previous seasons. We'll also have a look at a few of the talking points of the game, and then I'll briefly mention something about the USG game midweek, and that'll about wrap it up. So before we get into any of that though, please remember, if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, hit the bell. All the support on the channel is massively appreciated. We've absolutely smashed it to get to about 6.5k subscribers in the first 7 months or so. But let's keep that momentum going, and thank you so much to everyone that has been involved in part of that journey. But for now, let's get on with the video. So to talk about some of the kind of performances in the game, because I feel like a lot of people are sort of like jumping on Woltemade as if like, you know, he hasn't been the solution to the problem that we wanted him to be or something. Like, bearing in mind he did score, but like a lot of people seem to be like, oh, it's not clicking because of him or whatever. And I don't think he's the problem at all, because everything that he does in the game is great. Like, his link-up play is incredible, better than Isak's, I think. I think he can win headers. Isak couldn't really ever win headers all that often. He can score headers. And I don't necessarily think that he's the problem from an attacking standpoint anyway. Like, I think the fact that we're not scoring goals and not really creating chances isn't really down to him. Like, I think that's the criticism of his game that people are getting completely wrong. There's not anything wrong with his on-the-ball play, I don't think. I think where we seem to have a problem is the press. I think that with Woltemade on the pitch, we just don't seem to be as intense in our press. Like, quite consistently over the years, we've scored a lot of goals by putting the keeper under pressure. The keeper plays it out to the right back, left back. The left back is also massively under pressure. They play it out. It goes to Bruno or Tonali in the middle of midfield. They've kind of given the ball away in a really, really compromising position. We play one ball forward a lot of the time, goal. But even if we don't get that textbook goal that we've all seen plenty of times over the last 3 or 4 years under Eddie Howe, even if we don't get that goal that I've described there, what we do is we just keep opposition under pressure constantly. And I think that that's been something that's been really missing from our game for, well, pretty much all of this season. I'd say we had it in the Liverpool game, because obviously Gordon presses very, very intense. Oh, sorry, we had it for parts of the Liverpool game before Gordon got sent off, but Gordon presses very well. Gordon's constantly, you know, running around, sprinting, putting the keeper under pressure, then also putting the right back under pressure. Like, Gordon does almost too much pressing. But yeah, I don't feel like Woltemade's on the ball play is a problem. I think he's incredibly talented, and when the ball gets played into his feet for like his hold up play, for his link up play, you just almost like defenders cannot get the ball off him, because he shields the ball so well. Like, his close control is incredible. Like, it genuinely looks like Messi on stilts. I've also seen a few posts blaming Pope and people saying they wanted Ramsdale in goal just because of the kick at the end, and like, it was a mad kick and it probably did cost us a goal. but also we'd have probably been 4 or 5-0 down if Pope hadn't have made all the saves that he made. So I don't think we can go really blaming Pope when he kind of kept us in the game as well. And I'm not really in the business of pointing fingers as to like who's to blame or anything, but there is one player that I'm starting to get very frustrated with this season. And like, I'm almost not, because I remember obviously like 3 or 4 weeks ago when he was kind of running around constantly, you know, putting in tons of effort, and I was actually praising him. But like in terms of like actual ability and like end product and like what we all know he's capable of, I'm starting to get really frustrated with Gordon, because like there's so much of his game that's just really not there at the moment. Like his shooting is so off. His first touch a lot of the time is just really not where it's meant to be. And I don't know what's wrong with Gordon at the moment, but he's just really, really not at the level that we want him to be. And I think maybe it's unfair because, you know, he hasn't been able, like, he's only just managed to actually get his position that he plays in. He was having to play striker because of Isak being a fucking prick. Like, maybe there's fair explanation as to why Gordon isn't hitting the levels that he was meant to be hitting. I don't know. Like, but then there's also the argument to say that he also wasn't really doing it for a lot of last season as well. Like, there's something really off with Gordon's game, and I don't know what it is, but it's not just the numbers. It's not just the lack of goals and assists. Like, he genuinely just doesn't look half the player he was when he was good for us. I'm a little bit gutted that we didn't get some kind of reward for, you know, him skinning, I think Saka it was, or it might have been Timber. I'm not too sure. I was the other side of the stadium, so it was quite hard to see, and I haven't been able to see a replay of it. It was either Saka or Timber. There was a foul given, but I'm a little bit gutted we weren't at least able to get the yellow card for that, because it was on the break. It should have been a yellow card for whoever it was, and I think it was Saka. If it was Saka, Saka then also went down and dived, like literally about 10 seconds later. Probably shouldn't have been on the pitch. Two clear yellow card offences within 10 seconds of each other, which sort of brings me on to the refereeing decisions. And before I get onto the refereeing decisions, I do actually quickly want to say that one of the worst parts of the game was obviously Tino getting injured, because he has been an absolute standout player for us so far this season, and that kind of just really, really worries me, because it seemed very much that as soon as he came off, it all just started to crumble, to be honest. I have absolutely no idea why Lewis Hall wasn't there at all. There must be some sort of like injury there, which is even more worrying for Tino, because I can't for the life of me understand why Lewis Hall wasn't even on the bench. I've read that apparently it was just due to managing minutes, which, I don't know, another one where like another, you know, week in a row where I'm like, Eddie, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I get managing minutes, I get that he played midweek, I get that he's just coming back from an injury, but like, he is the closest like-for-like replacement for Tino. Tino goes off injured and we have to put Lascelles on. And like, I'm not particularly criticising Lascelles in any way, like, you know, he wasn't on for long, but Tino came off, Lascelles came on, and it all went to shit. And as I said, I'm not like trying to pile on Lascelles there, but it's more the case that we had to completely change the shape, and to accommodate Lascelles, we had to move Botman over to the left, when Botman is the central defender. Botman is an absolute fucking G of a defender, and moving Botman over to be the left centre-back and Lascelles having to be the central one, because Lascelles, that's the only role that Lascelles can really play in a back three, it meant that the most important defender of a back three was now not Botman, and it was Lascelles. And as much as I said, like, I'm not particularly criticising Lascelles for his role in any of the goals, like, Botman being that central defender is just a much better central defender than Lascelles. And when Botman is that central defender, we just don't really ever concede goals, or we don't concede many. But yeah, anyway, really hoping for a speedy recovery for Tino. Absolutely gutting to see him go down like that, like coming off on a stretcher after the season that he's been having as well. Like, he's been absolutely on fire, and to have it kind of cut down like that from what was seemingly an elbow in the back from Saliba whilst Tino was in the air. So again, Arsenal being fucking cunts. But on to the parts of the Arsenal game that sort of everyone has been talking about. So I'm gonna first talk about obviously the penalty that I do believe that we should have had, and I think most of the Premier League believes that we should have had. And I do get that it was kind of came off his thigh and onto his hand. And I think I want to hear your guys' opinion on this. So let me know in the comments, because I do see the other side to the argument to a certain extent. And what I mean by the other side of the argument is, I remember obviously Tino's handball against PSG, which was a sort of very similar one. However, I think, because obviously it came off his leg onto his hand, which is kind of the similar sort of thing. However, there is the side of it where Tino's was very much like off his leg onto his hand, which was out just in a completely normal running motion like this, right? Whereas Gabriel's, he was laid down on the floor, like this. Like, how can that not be a handball? I don't see any way you can not give that as a handball, because like, you don't, when you're sliding down, when you're sliding into a tackle, you don't need to slide like this. You don't need to do that. Like, it's not a natural position for the hand to be in. I get that there might be some kind of balance element, but the fact that his hand was like that, like, that's a fucking save. A goalkeeper does something like that. I'm not saying he did it intentionally, but what I'm saying is that your hand can't be there blocking across. Like, it could not have been further stretched out to block across. And I feel like you can almost fucking guarantee the other way around it would have been given. But let me know what you think in the comments, because as I said, I can see how when it comes off a leg onto a player's arm, I can see how, you know, if it was given, some people might feel slightly frustrated. As I said, we felt very frustrated in the PSG situation, but I don't think they're the same, because I think, as I said, that is a more like common, like natural position for a hand to be in when you're running than sliding like this. Like, it don't make sense to me at all. Please, someone make it make sense. But unfortunately, as much as that probably should be a decision that's pissed me off more than anything else in the game, that wasn't the decision that pissed me off the most in the game. And when I say it pissed me off as like a standalone incident in this game. But then when I think about like everything as a picture, like as a whole, and like the exact fixture that it was in and everything, I'm sort of able to calm myself down a little bit. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about Gabriel's basically punch to the face or elbow to the face or whatever you want to call it of Woltemade, right? And the reason why it's pissed me off a lot is not necessarily because he got away with it or that he should have been sent off, which he should have been, but then I'm kind of, as I say, I'm able to calm myself down a little bit with the fact that sort of probably calmer from when Bruno did it. Like back when Bruno did it against Jorginho a couple of years back, like I'm sort of able to be like, okay, like it's kind of like, you know, evens at that point. The thing that pisses me off more than anything is I was watching Sky Sports presenters talking about it afterwards, talking about Woltemade's interview, where Woltemade came out in a really, I think, commendable way and spoke about how he just doesn't want to go down in that situation. Like, what he wanted to do was he wanted to go over to the referee, talk to him and say, I've just been elbowed in the face. Can we have a look at it, please? Like, that's how I feel like it should be handled. And what he said was he just doesn't like to go down in them situations. And the Sky Sports presenter said, basically, you might not like to go down in these situations, but if you'd have gone down, it'd have been looked at. And like, why is that how it has to be? Why can it not be a case of, first of all, the VAR does his fucking job and just looks at the game and like, oh wait, actually that's a foul, right? That is a foul, that is a red card offense, right? So why can't the VAR just actually do his job and not have to be like why does it need to be that a player has to drop on the floor in some sort of fucking act just for them to do their fucking job? It's blatantly obvious that there was a red card offense there. So why does a player have to play act to make the VAR do his fucking job? Why doesn't the VAR just do his fucking job in the first place? Especially when the player has then gone over to the referee and said, I've just been elbowed in the face. Can you have a look at that, please? Right? Like, why can we not just be adults, communicate, like just fucking talk to each other and just listen and just be like, when a player comes over and says, I've just been elbowed in the face, all the referee has to do is just say to the VAR, I've got a player here saying he's just been elbowed in the face. Can you have a look at that? We'll carry on playing the game. Just can you quickly have a look at that for me? That's all they have to. Why for the VAR to do his job properly, to actually just have a look at what he's there to do? That he's there to watch the game on a fucking screen and decide whether or not there's been fouls. So why can the trigger for him to do his fucking job, bearing in mind he should be doing his job the whole fucking time, why is the trigger for him to do his job a player falling on the floor? Why can it not be, as I said, just adult communication? Player to referee says, I've just been elbowed in the face. Referee to VAR says, player's just told me he's been elbowed in the face. Can you check it for me? Is there anything there? Carry on playing. Whilst the check is going on, then the VAR just says, yes, there is actually something there. Red card, done. Why can that not? Why are these people like fucking children where they need to see someone fall on the floor for something to be real. Like, I don't fucking understand it. I really don't understand it. And then obviously it gets made 10 times worse by the fact that Gabriel scored the winning goal when he shouldn't have been on the pitch. But it is what it is. I did say in my preview that I thought Arsenal were going to win this game. I did sort of just think that they were due a win at St. James's Park eventually. And as I've said, going into these games, like going into the last few games, I haven't been majorly that confident. I thought that Arsenal were probably going to be the ones to win the game. Neither of us are really that capable of scoring goals, and I thought, I had more confidence in Arsenal's ability to break our defence down than our ability to break their defence down. I think the frustration for me is that I was wrong. I was wrong for the majority of the game, and it really came down to some, right down towards the end of the game. And I think I would have been having a very different talk about this game had that VAR been done properly, had they just looked into something that they should have been doing anyway. It shouldn't require a player acting and falling on the fucking floor, because what you're doing by saying that is you're just perpetuating that even more. Woltemade has come out and said, I don't like that part of the game. He's probably now going to be thinking, well, I've just cost my team points, which he shouldn't have done. Like, we should be respecting a player being more fucking respectable and not fucking jumping around, diving on the floor and acting and just going over when using his words like a fucking adult and going over and saying, I've just been elbowed in the face. Can we have a look at it, please? Anyway, now I want to quickly look at all of the fixtures that we've played so far this season, the points we've got from them, how they compare to previous seasons, because a lot of people haven't liked kind of the negativity that I've been sort of putting out over the past sort of couple of videos. And as I said, I want to be positive. I really want to be positive. First of all, my channel does much better when I'm being positive. But second of all, I want to be positive about Newcastle United. I want things to be going well. So I just want to be able to say good things. And it's a large part of, as I said, the reason why I started the channel. But I need to look at the reality of things. As I said, I'm not just going to be positive for the sake of being positive. I'm also going to be honest, because if I'm just positive for the sake of being positive, I may as well not be positive when I'm being positive, because no one will believe that I'm actually genuinely positive, because I just say positive things all the fucking time. So I'm not just going to be positive when things aren't positive. And that's why I need to look at the points tallies that we've got from the games that we've played so far and where we would have been at in previous seasons. So I've got them down on my phone here. So over, obviously this season, we've got so far 6 points from 6 games. Over the same fixtures last season, Villa away, 0 points. Liverpool at home, 1 point. All of the newly promoted teams away were 3 points. Wolves at home, 3 points. Bournemouth away, 1 point. And Arsenal at home, 3 points. So that's a total last season of 11 points from them same 6 fixtures. So we're currently, from them same 6 fixtures, 5 points worse off. And then if we look at the 23-24 season, which by all accounts wasn't particularly a great season, we didn't qualify for Europe. We had injuries everywhere. Villa away, we got 3 points. Liverpool at home, we got 0 points. From the newly promoted teams, we got 3 from one, 3 from another, and 0 from one of the others. So I'm going to allow us and try and make us feel better, and we're going to calculate this off the fact that this is the one that we lost, and hopefully we're going to beat both of the other newly promoted teams away from home. So as I said, I'm going to calculate this one off of that being 0 points. Bournemouth away, 0 points, and Arsenal at home that season was 0 points. That was the one where they beat us 4-1. So that again would be 6 points. So currently we are on the same trajectory of points that we were last time we were in the Champions League. The worry being that last time we were in the Champions League, we started quite strong, then the injuries started to mount up, and then it just went to shit. Now, obviously this season we have more squad depth, and I do think that, things could slightly change when Wissa comes back. And that's why I've said medium to long term, I'm not worried, but I am still, when people are saying, the questioning why I'm saying things are bleak and things, like, we are still on the same form that we were last time we missed out on Europe. And if our current form doesn't change, I'm almost certain we will be missing out on Europe again. Obviously, the positives here are that we are playing very good football, and like some of these losses that we're getting, the losses that we were getting in that 23-24 season were because we just had no players left and we weren't particularly playing great football because we just literally had like a skeleton squad. Right now, we are playing good football, and you would have to kind of hazard a guess guess to say that at some point we will start getting rewarded for the quality of football that we're playing. Maybe when Wissa comes back, maybe, I don't know when it's going to be. But generally, if you continue playing good football, you will be rewarded for it. I just really hope this season doesn't end up the exact same as the last time we were in Champions League, and it just seems to completely hinder us, and just, yeah, we end up losing out on European football for the following season. But on the topic of Champions League, European football, we have a midweek game against USG. USG are currently top of their league in the Belgian league. Now, when I said I was going to do a preview on this, I'm not going to be able to do much of a major preview because I'm not going to pretend I watch Belgian football every week. I don't really know that much about USG, and I'm just going to be completely honest about that. So the only thing I can really talk about is obviously what I expect from us. And I think this game is a must win, because I think with the loss against Barcelona and just like the results that we've had recently, we just need to get some wins on the board, just for confidence, for morale, off the back of, you know, multiple losses now in the last minute of games. Like, we just need to get a win on the board, something to feel good about. You know, 3 points on the board in the Champions League. There's nothing really that can make you feel much better than a big 3 points in the Champions League, especially away from home. And this being arguably our easiest Champions League away fixture, we really need to capitalize on this. I think I'd expect to see Alanga starting, probably, I guess, Harvey Barnes as well. To be honest, I'd love to see Malik Chow and Botman start again. I actually forgot to mention when I was talking about individual players' performances in the Arsenal game, I'd mentioned Botman. Malik Chow in that game looked fucking incredible. I'm genuinely so excited to see what he brings to the team over the next year or so. Like, he just looks so good. How in any world Milan fans were trying to say they'd ripped us off with the sale of Malik Chow to us, I don't know what they've been watching, because he is incredible. And the really exciting thing is he brings that pace that we've been lacking in our back line. So when a team's on like a bit of a counter, a bit of a break, he just sweeps straight across and just takes it straight off him. He's honestly incredible. Whether or not we will see them two, I don't know, because I think Dan Burn and Fabian Schär, they're both going to be fit for this one. Schär was out due to concussion protocols, I think, so he could come back. I don't know. And to be honest, I'm not particularly too upset if they do come back, because Dan Burn and Fabian Schär are both great as well. But I just think Botman and Chow, they are like top level. I think we'll obviously see Trippier right back, probably Lewis Hall left back, or maybe we will see Dan Burn left back again, and then Malik Chow and Botman will be playing. I would like to think that we won't go with a back five against USG, although it is entirely possible because they're on constant winning form. We're not on constant winning form. They're at home, we're away. So there is the possibility that we go with a back five and we have, like, you know, Trippier right wing back, Lewis Hall left wing back, or maybe even like Murphy right wing back, Lewis Hall left wing back, and then we just have the back three, Burn, Botman, Malik Chow, maybe even Schär in there. Let me know in the comments how you think we might line up. Obviously, Bruno and Tonali, they have to start. But then also, as well as letting me know in the comments how you think we'll line up, let me know in the comments as a reply to the pinned comment. Let me know in the comments your score prediction and first goal scorer for another giveaway. Once again, £50 Google Play gift card to the first person that gets it right. All the rules for the giveaway are in the description. Good luck to everyone who enters. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.